I started out in 1969 with my bank. Well, it wasn't a bank at the time, actually. I started out as a finance company, and I gradually got some deposits, and it wasn't that I was intending to be a bank. I was just wanting to offer a service to make a living. And in the middle 70s, a number of secondary banks went out of business, and the government said, "Oh, you know, we're going to stop another bank ever going bust again, and we're going to save people's deposits, and this is the last time that this will happen." It took them 4 years to bring in the legislation for the First Banking Act, and certainly from my own viewpoint, we had very few deposits, and they turned around and said, "Well, you know, we'd like you to return your deposits to the people that had them," which most of ours were just family and friends, and I couldn't see the rationale behind that. And they turned around and said, "Well, you know, we're going to split you into two groups if you want to be a bank, into licensed deposit takers and to banks. And if you've got 5 million, you know, you can put a bank in your name, and that would be it." Well, I decided to, only because I suppose of my nature, to say, well, okay, what do I have to do? What rules are there? There weren't any rules. Which just seems incredible now, but I mean, this is in 1979. There wasn't one rule that was there that you actually had to comply. I said, well, they said, just write us a letter and say you'll stand behind it. And I thought, oh, this seems simple. And very gradually, you know, as each bank went bust, they kind of brought in a rule, worked out why it went bust, how it went bust, and so there was 550 banks in this country at the time, and I think when I sold in 2009, I think it was down to about 115. It goes to show how, and it was almost impossible to get a license. It just wasn't really practical, and that's been the case throughout the last 40 years, actually. So, you know, we used to have meetings with other small banks that there were, and there was such a completely different rationale of what we were doing as a small local bank to kind of a large bank. You'd see them go off and say, all right, we're going to go and buy all the estate agents, and then we can, you know, sell them insurance, we can do this, do that. And I mean, you didn't have to be Einstein to kind of work out that this was very impractical what they were doing. And at each night, you know, when they bought an estate agent, their staff went home and the business went home at night, and they hoped they came back in the morning. But the relationship of a small bank to a big bank, there isn't any relationship whatsoever. We were a kind of a community set up, and the way that the idea of having small banks now and having and I do believe there is a real genuine message out there that this is the way to go forward. And I'd like to think that we will follow the system of the German small banks, and I think that's a really good way forward, that we will, so many businesses will develop through that. And I've seen it in my time. I get people who used to ring me up, and I just think, well, you know, why can't you get the money? This is a really good proposition. You know, there was no relationship that guy could have with a large bank. It just couldn't exist. You had to be on a much lower basis. So I feel very strongly about the idea of having a small bank, and I could never understand. Just kind of give you a kind of a practical example. I became an executor of a will the other day, and I rang up one of the large banks, and I said, oh, you know, I'd like to kind of bring in I'd like to send you a death certificate because my friend's died, and, you know, what do I have to do? And she said, oh, I'm Nema, you see. I said, oh, I don't understand the name. She said, oh, I'm in India. So I said, oh, that's quite interesting, but all I want to do is shut this account. So, you know, she turned around and I said, well, where do I send it? Well, I'll contact the bereavement department for you. I said, all I want to do is shut the account. So she said, well, you know, what relationship are you to this person that you want to shut the account of? I said, well, I'm an executor of the will. So she said, you mean executor, don't you? and I thought it just kind of puts a big bank and a little bank in the context of what one was trying to do. And I mean, both words are spelt the same way, and I was quite impressed that she actually managed to get the actual words right. But the executor and executor, there's just a slight difference. But it just puts it into you know, a practical way of a small business and what you're trying to do to a large bank. And I'm just giving that as an example, but it did make me laugh at the time, I must admit. Anyway, that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.